So the authorities told me today that I can't live off grid and self-sustaining. It's and I'm fighting back. I'm not going to tolerate it. They're not going to tell me this, and I don't care if they think they're the authorities or not. So to give you a little history on what we've done here, and also explain the happiness that I have. Never been happier in my life. I want to explain all this before I let you know exactly what's going on. I don't know what 2017. It's been a while. Carolyn and I were just killing ourselves working. We working 60, 70, 80 hours. I remember one week we worked 90 hours, and it was a holiday no less, on a Friday, so we were supposed to have an extended weekend, and we worked all 7 days that week. It was quite stressful. And what did we have to show for it? Well, I mean, we were making pretty good money, so we got some money out of the deal. Got all the debts paid off, so we're debt free, so that was good. But we had 8 acres, and we weren't paying anything for it. $350 a month for a nice house and 8 acres. I had dreams of a big garden and a cow. Could never do it. I remember one time I went out and shot my .22, and it must have been 100 degrees outside, and I'm just pouring sweat. But it was the only day off I'd gotten in like a month. And it was just so hot that I couldn't. Just a lot of stress. Life was just, there was too much of it. There was just too much of everything. Too much house, too much car, too much debt, too much stress, too much job. So we decided that we were gonna travel. We got a little pop-up camper. I fixed it up. Whatever time available I had, I fixed it up. 1971 Starlight. Had a good canvas on it. And we traveled for a few years, till 2019, I guess. So it seems like it was longer than that. But regardless, like I said, the dates aren't gonna match up. But there was still a lot of stress involved. And I know people are gonna say this is ridiculous, how could this be stressful? But there was stress trying to find water, trying to find internet, trying to find the next camping location, always having to move, always having to deal with people, always having to deal with partiers. So after a few years, we finally gave it up. Now, in the meantime, somebody burned our camper down, the pop-up. So we had to build a little camper. I showed you that down there. It's a little truck camper that we built. We built that down in Florida. Put it on the truck, and off we went. And went off to Arizona, and just all kinds of different places. But it was still pretty stressful. Always worried that somebody was going to burn down the camper, and this time the truck with it also. So I guess it was 2019, August 2019, we decided we were done. That winter we went down in Texas, and they had these free campsites that had electric and water. You could only spend 2, 3, 4 days at each one, but they were all around Lubbock, Texas. And so we kind of traveled around there while Carolyn was finding properties here in Missouri. And she found this one, $4,200. We ran up here. Well, we actually found several, but that's a longer story than I want to get into. So we ran up here, and we looked at the place, had a well on it. It's 1.5 acres. Now, I know some people seem to think you got to have 1,000,000 acres, but that's the whole point of this story, is downsize your life. We got chickens now, and we built the tiny house. Built the tiny house by myself. Now, I know I had to buy the materials, which I'll get into that in a little bit. But the chickens are now self-sustaining. We can incubate them, reproduce them. The only downside that we have is we have to be careful that the rooster is not mating with its daughters. So we have more than one rooster. And that'll give us a few cycles. And then we'll have to figure out what to do. We'll probably end up getting more roosters, what we end up going to have to do. Expand ourselves a little bit. But regardless, we can incubate now. So we get eggs, and that is saving us a ton of money. So I've showed this in the past. We raised sunflower seeds, and Carolyn can turn 50 pounds of sunflower seeds into 250 pounds by simply letting them sprout. So she puts them in a tub, puts water in them, keeps them moist for a few days, and then they start to sprout out. And now you had this little handful of sunflower seeds that turns into a tub of sunflower seeds. So that gives the chickens all their protein. So you give the chicken a little handful of protein each day, and then they can just eat the weeds around the yard. And that's all the food they need. They get all their nutrition that way. And they give us enough eggs to eat for both meals, and then we can butcher the chickens. We are not completely self-sustaining with the chickens yet. We're almost there. I figure by next year we'll have it. Now, another thing we can do is if things go bad, SHTF they talk about a lot, we can trap raccoons and possums, just different animals around here, and we can butcher them and feed those to the chickens. And that's good protein for them, good nutritious diet. And when we butcher a chicken, I know people think, oh, cannibalism, this is terrible, but we do it. A lot of people do it, actually. You can take the scraps from the chicken that you can up, and you give it to the chickens, and that's more food for them. They can eat their own eggs. We give them calcium with their own eggs. Carolyn breaks up the eggshells every day. Also, we have 15 years of firewood. Now, we live in this little tiny house, and it's 12 foot by 16 foot. Very small. And that's why this little bit of firewood here, 15 cords, will last us most of our life. And then we have another 30 years of wood in the woods that we can cut down if we wanted to. We got all this free, but we don't have to. We could get it from the woods. We have the ability to cut all this wood by hand without a chainsaw. We can use a regular saw to cut a tree down and cut up in logs if we had to. And then I split it all by a maul, and Carolyn used this little manual log splitter. So this is the manual log splitter, and she pumps that like it's a rowing machine. And within one summer, we had all this split. You don't have to do it all at once. Do a little bit at a time. Carolyn come out, do a log or two. I come out and do a few logs. Before you knew it, it was done. But none of it was stressful. None of it. I can't think of anything we did here that was stressful. Now, I built a tiny house, and I say that was stressful, not from the aspect of, oh my gosh, there's not enough time, I'm in a hurry, but from the aspect I've never built a house before, so I was always worried I was going to do something wrong. And I was also having to put it on YouTube, so I was always worried that somebody was going to be critical of it. So there was that stress, but other than that, no stress. Everything's relaxing around here. And so Carolyn and I can stay here very independently and mostly self-sustaining. I say that we're at least 80% self-sustaining. I'm sorry about the look on my face. I'm recovering from a head cold and my eyes are kind of watering right now. But the key to our life is Carolyn and I thoroughly enjoy what we're doing here. This is our job, this is our life, and we look at it that way. But it's a job and a life that we want. We love it. So we don't need anything else in our life to entertain us. This satisfies us. So today, I watched a video, and I'm pretty sure it was in rebuttal to me, that says it's impossible to live self-sustaining. And he listed off dozens of things that he has to get done in a day, and he's just too busy, and there's just not enough time, and he's got this to do and that to do, and he's always stressed. Well, instead of saying that I'm wrong, that I'm lying to you, that I'm quite relaxed here, I'm happy. Of course, he even said, if you watch these people who say they're living self-sustaining, they're never happy. I don't know how I can tell you any more than I'm just overly happy. So that's wrong. But if you're saying that it's impossible to live mostly self-sustaining, then you're doing too much. You got to minimize your life. What's causing you stress is you have too much. You don't need that much. Or doing this type of thing isn't what you want in life. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage by doing too much that you don't need, and or you don't want to do it in the first place. There's where the advantage that Carolyn and I have. I suspect that a person who is trying to do everything, they want to live this lifestyle, they want to do something similar to this, but their spouse, on the other hand, doesn't. They don't want to minimize. They love the air conditioner in the summer. They love the heat in the winter. Of course, we have heat, but this morning I got up, it's supposed to get up to 80 degrees a day, but when I got up, it was quite chilly, and it would have been much more comfortable to start the wood stove. But I didn't. 65 degrees in the house. I figured, well, it's going to warm up. There's no reason for me to start a wood stove. So I lived a little bit uncomfortable so I can live happy and free and independent and self-sustaining. I don't need all the creature comforts to be happy. So if you need those things to be happy, then no, you cannot live self-sustaining. In my mind, a lot of Americans are spoiled. They've become spoiled, and they're not going to adjust to anything else. They're not going to adjust to no air conditioner. They're not going to adjust to having their fingers a little cold and their nose is running because it's chilly in the house. To have a true sense of freedom. To me, this is a true sense of freedom. Now, I know all the naysayers are going to say, you don't live self-sustaining. You didn't build those materials. That looks like metal. That looks like somebody else did. Granted, I have to agree with you, but now it's here. It never has to be done again. So I spent a year getting myself to a point, relying on others, so I don't ever have to rely on them again. And now I don't have to be stressed by them all the time. When you start saying, I can't, I got a comment this morning actually that started me off into this path of I can't, I can't, I can't. So if you are saying you can't, well, can't never can. I can do it. But the key is being a minimalist. There are 4 things you need to live happy: water, food, shelter, security. That's it. That's all you got to have. If you can conquer those basics, then you've got it made. You don't need anything else. Oh, what about your clothes? You can adapt to clothes. You can make things out of things. You can find things. You can scavenge for things. I know how to tan a hide, so those raccoons and possums I was telling you about, if I need to, I can make a coat out of. And you can use the brains of the animal to tan the hide. These things are doable. You don't need a lot of skills. This guy was saying, you got to have too many skills. You got to have other people to rely on. I've done it all by myself. Built the house. Yes, I know. Somebody's going to say you didn't get the materials. But the well, I did that by myself, fixed it up. Chickens, I'm raising the chickens by myself. Now that I have everything, I don't need anything. So if you're making excuses of why you can't live self-sustaining, or at least feel like you're living self-sustaining, and that's the key. You got to feel it. You can't feel that way, and you want to feel that way, then get that junk out of your life. So when I say the authorities said I can't live self-sustaining, these people are supposed to be the experts. These people are supposed to be the prepping gurus, the homesteading gurus, and they're saying I can't. So they're the authority on this subject. How is it that I can say I genuinely feel 80 to 90% self-sustaining, but they're telling me I can't? They've already lost the game. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about wood stoves. So if I can inspire you to live free, whatever that may be to you. Thanks for watching.